Hey everybody, it's Josh with Talk About Trek, and we are back. We have finished up our very first installment into the New Frontier series, House of Cards by Peter David. It doesn't actually say that on the front here at all, but it is the title of the book, House of Cards. As you can see right from the cover, you're in for a treat. You've got Picard, you've got Spock, and then who is this character in the middle? None other than Mackenzie Calhoun. Very, I don't know, exciting, action-packed character. Now, I've only known him through the Gateway saga, and I believe that's the only book that I've read so far in this series. So this is a whole new thing for me, being able to jump into this, and so far, so great, right? Really great. And what I really liked about it too was it's just a little bite-sized thing. Look at that. And also, look at the shape of this thing. This is a well-loved copy of New Frontier. I actually did not have this, and I had to get it off of eBay, and I got it for like $4. And I tell you, I like to see books in this kind of very read, very loved condition. So this has seen a lot of reading time here. Now let's read from the back. I've not done this yet. From the universe of Star Trek: The Next Generation, a new ship, a new crew, a new mission. Sector 221G. For the whole of Federation history, this large area of space has been controlled by the Thelonians, a cruel, militaristic race of which little is known except that they rule the other races in their sector with a vicious iron hand. Now the Thelonian Empire has collapsed, and the systems it once ruled are in chaos. Old hatreds are surfacing, petty tyrants control deadly weapons. World after world is descending into disorder and self-destruction. The Federation must send a starship to help where it can and reports what it finds. The ship is the USS Excalibur, a newly refit Ambassador-class starship commanded by Captain Mackenzie Calhoun and manned by Starfleet's best and brightest, including some old friends from Star Trek: The Next Generation and some of the most dynamic crew members ever to crew a Federation starship. Join Captain Calhoun and the crew of the USS Excalibur as they explore strange new worlds, seek out new life and new civilizations, and boldly go where no one has gone before. Nice. They don't really give much away there. That's beautiful. Just kind of laying out the initial idea that you're getting. And even this kind of is like not even what you're getting in this book. This book is giving you an introduction. An introduction to the area, but mostly an introduction to these new characters. And that's exactly how they lay it out as well. The first section of the book, you get to meet young Mackenzie. The next section of the book, you meet this half Romulan, half Vulcan named Soletta. And then you're... there's a small section where you get a little reunion, I would say, with Dr. Solar, of course, from TNG. And then the story kind of kicks in and takes shape, and you can kind of see where they're going with it. So, now before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's consult the Voyages of the Imagination here. We'll just go back to the index and look for the HOU. That's page 331 if you're following along at home. And let's see what Peter David had to say about House of Cards. Nothing, not a thing. Shoot, okay. There is there's a whole section here on New Frontier. Alright, let's read it together. Now, this whole concept was created by Peter David and John J. Ordover. So this is in... and we might paraphrase some of this as we go through, but this is from Voyages of the Imagination. John Ordover remembered, one of the major problems with the novels at the time, the mid-90s, was that you have to remember this was way before the DS9 relaunch and stuff like that, was you couldn't put any inherent continuity into them, and you couldn't make any significant changes, so characters couldn't die, they couldn't change, they couldn't leave. Core characters always had to remain the same, and after a few years that becomes frustrating for an editor. That makes sense. So they came up with their own ship, their own crew. So I wrote up my core concept, the ship called the Excalibur, of a Sector 221G that had just collapsed. one of the things I pitched to Voyager was the notion that a Federation-like civilization should have collapsed fighting the Borg. I mean, they fought to exist, but now they've collapsed and completely fallen out of contact with each other, and each kind has gone off on its own, and there's lots of problems because they both try to specialize in machines without food, and the other food, not machines. Interesting idea. Peter David made up Mackenzie Calhoun on his own. I wanted a more dynamic captain than we've seen lately. Bottom line is, as much as I love DS9, as much as I dislike Voyager, the problems rating-wise with DS9 and Voyager is that they changed the concept. Interesting thoughts. John added, at the time, the Green Mile was setting sales records as chapter books, so we did the first story with chapter books. Bang. All over the New York Times list, and then we went on from there. To be honest, the first thought was that there's no way in hell we're going to be able to get this thing through, so it was a surprise when it all worked out, and it's been a good trip. Nice. So it looks like they don't give too much individual information about really any of this stuff, and I think that's fine. We kind of know now a little bit about where it came from. So, what are you getting into at New Frontier? Right off the get-go, it is definitely a lot more kind of action-packed than your typical Star Trek book, and I think they're kind of just setting the tone with, with these characters, and they give each of them these really kind of, over-the-top kind of introductions, just to show you, how cool they're going to be, I guess, down the road. But Mackenzie Calhoun's introduction in the first, 3-4 chapters of the book are just fantastic. Read like something out of like John Carter of Mars. This young warlord rising up to take over and throw off the chains of oppression that have covered his planet for 200 years or whatever. Just a hero story through and through, and it's good. It's just a good start. It's a very good start, and then it switches. And you get another new character, and again the introduction is top notch. They give you this fantastic introduction. So I'm not going into too many details yet. We'll do that in a minute. So the first half of the book is just these two great introduction stories meeting these characters, and then from there, already in that they're kind of sowing some seeds of what's going to happen. But then they lay out, the remainder of the story from there. So, I suppose we should actually just kind of get into it a little bit more, too. So, anyway, if you don't want to be spoiled, you can leave now. I'll start actually talking about things. I took some decent notes here, and I am also referencing the memory beta that we can look at, in case I do forget any names here. So, anyway, the year is 2353, and the Xenexian rebellion is in full swing. Their young leader, Mackenzie, has led the Xenexians to many victories, and the story starts out with basically the leader of the opposition army chasing him through this kind of arid region of Xenex called the Pit. So you get to see, from their angle, their confidence that they're going to get him finally. This guy has been giving their army so much trouble. He's caused basically this whole rebellion is kind of built upon his back, and they're finally going to get him. So they head out into the pit after him, and Calhoun is he's like our own Schwarzenegger out there, right? He's out there, he's setting traps. He takes out the whole crew of the leader, and the leader's name is Falkar. He's a Dontari general. The Dontari are the race that has enslaved these people. So anyway, they get into a fight, a nice kind of sword fight, and just basically through Mackenzie's innate, skill, he's able to avoid slashes, just barely survive, and in the end, he's able to beat Falkar by knowing that the storm was coming in, kind of feeling it come, and then waiting for the right moment, and then taking his sword and striking him down, right? But he is in terrible shape, and basically is dying out there in this pit, right? Now, there's also a legend that you go out to this pit and you can have these visions of your future, of your destiny, that kind of stuff. So in this state, he starts having these visions. And in one of the visions, he sees this bald man who's very stern, telling him to get up. And like, that's no way for a captain to act. Are you really a man? And that kind of drives him to get up and get moving. He also sees a naked blonde woman, as well as a few other things in this vision, and all of this kind of gets him to just continue on, right? And at this point, he's basically going on like autopilot, and it was very, very well done, very fun. It's like, again, it kind of reminded me of reading those John Carter of Mars books, where he's out there in the deserts of Barsoom, and just very well done. He makes it almost to the end, and he's rescued, or he makes it kind of to the edge of the pit, and he's found by the search parties, one of them being his brother Dendai. And another kind of cool scene, like he's like running, and Dendai thinks he's running towards him, but he's actually still chasing this vision of Picard, and he's like, "Get back here, you son of a bitch! What do you think?" And he's still chasing him. Eventually, he gives out, and he kind of falls down, and then takes more than a few days to recover from the affair. When he does recover, he finds out that the Dantari have arrived with a Federation envoy, and who is the leader of the envoy? None other than Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the USS Stargazer. So he comes in and he sees something in Mackenzie, immediately, and Mackenzie, of course, recognizes him. So he kind of sees his destiny kind of forming right there, right? And then that's kind of the end of that initial first story. 10 years later, 2363, now we are talking about Soletta, and she is a half Romulan, half Vulcan. And again, they give her a fantastic introduction as well. She is doing some research on the Thelonian home planet, which does not allow people on it. So she is taking a one-man craft and kind of sneakily sneaked herself in there, right? So she's on there, scanning some things, doing something, when she gets absorbed in the fact that her vessel is gone, sucked into a sinkhole, and she's like, "How could this be?" And I love this part about her introduction, where now she's confronted by the Chancellor, and they're aboard these 6-footed beasts, and they're coming to ride her down, and they're questioning her as to what she's doing there, and that looks weird. Anyway, she says, "Please don't bother me," or something like that. She's like, I can't be bothered right now. I really need to focus on this problem. I've got to figure this out. And when they persist, she reaches up and she Vulcan nerve pinches the animal, which falls over on the guy, and then she continues to, figure out what she's doing. She eventually gets stunned and knocked out and thrown into a dungeon where she presumes she's going to be left to die because there's like a skeleton there next to her. However, not long after that, another prisoner is thrown into the dungeon, who reveals himself to be none other than Ambassador Spock. So there you go. You've got your Picard, you've got your Spock. They're loading it big and heavy here at the beginning to kind of get you into it and get you going, right? So Spock is there on a separate mission, but heard about what was happening and decided to take action and goes to rescue Soletta. They effect their rescue. In the midst of it, they run into the prince, the lord of this area, Lord C. Swan. And he kind of doesn't really like the Chancellor, so he actually lets them escape, just to kind of make him mad. So that's your introduction to this guy as well. Now, so anyway, they get out of there, and that's the end of that section. Now they go forward even further to, I think, 2371, which was another 8 years forward. And now we get a little short and very, kind of sad section on Dr. Solar. Now, I always loved Dr. Solar and was glad to see her come back in the books. She had just a few episodes, and I think made kind of a big impact from those episodes, to be honest. But she is in the grips of Ponfar, and she must leave the Enterprise to go back to Vulcan to meet up with her partner Voltac. During the Ponfar, when they are in the closest emotional state, where they're basically one with each other, he has a heart attack and dies. And she basically feels that, because she is, they're one with each other, right? So she feels this, and then as a result, is not able to successfully kind of rescue his Katra. So it's kind of it's a dark, short scene. That starts out in a very different way, but then turns very dark all of a sudden. And I guess they are setting the stage for just her character and how that's going to proceed. So there you go. You get these three character introductions, and then they jump right into the story. The Enterprise E has been brought into the area of Deep Space Five, which is under the command of Admiral Jellicoe. So again, they're bringing in more people. They are calling a conference because the Thelonian Empire has collapsed. Refugees are streaming out of it. Apparently, the royal family has been murdered on Thelonia there. So lots of trouble, and they are holding a kind of a diplomatic conference. They have the Prince Lord C. Swan. They also have the Danteri representative Rajan. Now the Danteri are like right next to the Thelonian Empire, and if you remember, the Danteri were the ones that the Xenixians overthrew in the beginning, and the Thelonians are the ones that Soletta was captured by in the second part. So, kind of see how everything's falling together here, right? But anyway, Sector 221G is in peril, and they need to figure out a way to stop it. This C. Swan wants the Federation to come in with a fleet and help him regain his control. He contests that only the Empire can keep order, which is what is best for everyone here, right? Jellicoe is recommending a kind of a fact-finding mission, something like that. However, Riker comes up with something different. He agrees that they do need to do something, but not a full-scale fleet. And what he thinks they should do is just send in a single ship. One ship that can go in there, assess the situation, make the appropriate actions that are necessary that a captain can make. So he gets the backing of Picard with the idea, and it kind of it floats. Also, Admiral Nechayev. I shouldn't even have brought that up if I can't say it. Nechayev. Anyway, she was in TNG as well. So again, lots of guest stars. They're like loading this thing up, right? So they're all kind of working on what would be the best mission or the best way to proceed with this, right? And they think it's a decent idea, so they ask Jellicoe if there's a ship handy, and there is. The Excalibur is recently, fixed up and ready to be put back out into service. And now they're asking who could they put in command of such a ship. And to everyone's surprise, Picard recommends Mackenzie Calhoun. So between the end of the first section and now, Mackenzie Calhoun has had a storied Starfleet career, 20 years or whatever here. He's risen to the rank of first officer. There's been some sort of tragedy that happened aboard the Grissom. They don't go into it yet, but he has been out of... he resigned his commission, but unbeknownst to Picard, has still been kind of doing these little undercover spy jobs for Admiral Nechayev. I am terrible with that one. Nechayev. Okay. Anyway, the train of thought is gone. It's left the station. So Picard recommends Calhoun. Jellicoe recommends Shelby. Here we go. More people coming from the past, right? So anyway, Shelby, of course, from Best of Both Worlds. The blonde. So anyway, and then, like I said, they go ahead with the plan, much to Jellicoe's discontent. He's very much not happy with it. And that's kind of fun, too, that they're making him not happy, Of course, Jellicoe from the Chain of Command two-parter. Great episodes. Great character, too. They're making a toy of Jellicoe. I'm excited for that. I have a toy of Calhoun. I should put it on my desk while I'm reading this book. Where did I put old Mac? Anyway. See, look at me getting distracted over here. Now I'm looking for Calhoun. Anyway, the end of the book, we're getting to the end of the book, and we're talking about the book. It ends with, you get to see Mac on one of his missions. He is on the space station. He's playing cards with this Orion. He throws in an extra 2 bars of latinum. He can't cover it. The Orion throws in his Orion slave girl, and Calhoun wins. Q going back to the room. The slave girl's trying to jump all over him. Turns out just a distraction, and the Orion comes in with a big knife, and they get into a bit of a scuffle, ending with Calhoun taking care of business in a pretty gruesome way, I would say. As he's about to, not that he wants to, take out the Orion slave girl, Picard comes in, stuns her, and excuse me, tells him that he has a mission for him. So that's kind of where the book ends up. This is a to be continued, which I love, because that means that right as soon as I am done talking to all of you, I can go ahead and pick up book 2. Bing, bang, boom, I'll be into that thing. I'll be out of it by tomorrow, to be honest with you. One thing I think I'm really going to love about this series, it is these series of little shorter stories, it looks like. I've got the first, I think maybe I got the first 5 little ones, and then I've got some big ones too. We'll look at that later. We'll talk about that later. We'll figure that out later. For now, let's look at what the end of this book actually is. Oh, no, see, yeah, it wasn't. That's right. Because, anyway, Mackenzie's kind of agreed to go on the mission. Picard's talked some sense into him, right? Now, they give you a little bit with Soletta at the end. She is currently teaching at Starfleet Academy, and then she is also called into action to join the Excalibur crew. Just because of her contact with the Thelonian Empire. Not many people, in fact, I think probably just her has actually been there before. So she's called in. She's going to take care of that. She's going to do that. But then, as she's hanging up the phone, she checks her next message. What does she get? She gets a message saying, like, what is it? Like, don't turn around or something. And somebody holds a gun to the back of her head. Bum, bum, bum. To be continued. That's the end. So, yeah, I'm going to jump right into that here, like, in mere moments. Well, I'll have to, like, edit this thing, and I'll have to make a thumbnail. Here, let me make a thumbnail thing. Look. Wait, let me do this. Okay, I don't know. Maybe that'll be funny. I don't know. It might be funny. Anyway, this book was fun, and I want to thank whoever recommended this to me. I didn't write down your name, and I should have did that. But you know what I can do is we certainly can just look, right? So let's head on over to the channel, because this whole series was, like I said, recommended by someone else. Hey, look, I got 330 subscribers. Let's go, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. So anyway, we're doing a video here. Let's see what we've got. We're looking, and we've got it here. Okay, perfect. Now I just got to find comments. Don't worry, guys. We are getting there in the end. Community. No, that's not it. Anyway, thanks for hanging in there. While we are hanging out, watch Lower Decks. 4 episodes in. Very, very good. Okay, so I think this was comments on my last video. Let's look. That's me. Okay. No, not that one. Let's go to the one before that. We are going to find out. This one? Yes, okay. This was from Johanna254, who recommended me... Quiet, Josh. Quiet. There we go. Okay, sorry. Anyway, Johanna254, who recommended the New Frontier series. And I have to say thank you, because it's like the perfect time for me to jump into just something that I can quote so completely and fully engross myself in, right? And that's what this will be. New characters, new adventures, still Star Trek. So it's almost like I'm taking my traditional Star Trek break, which I try to do every now and then so you don't get burned out, by visiting a all-new Star Trek series. And, I mean, I've always loved Peter David's writing. All of his early TNG stuff is great, so I'm sure I'm going to have fun with this. and I'm going to have fun talking about it. And what's great is that I feel it's going to be a quick read. I feel like I'm going to be through 2 or 3 books this week. 2 or 3 or 4, who knows? It's going to be good. Anyway, that's all for now. We're going to wrap this up at 25 minutes on the nose. As always, my friends, live long and prosper, and we'll see you guys in the next one.